the momentum of the day rolling through the door with you, the momentum of your life, the intrinsic need to do something, to finally be happy, to finally be free. And be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself if you're chasing after something that you feel you currently lack in this moment, or that you don't have, and see if that was driving any of the momentum of the day, any of the momentum of your life. And be honest with yourself and what it is that you're after. What it is that you're looking for or hoping for. What completion might look like to your ego or to your mind that this moment can't already provide. So to become aware of just how much force it's taken you to arrive here today. And to be honest, knowing that the amount of force that it took you in the eons of time is enough for you to finally be happy and free. It's time to stop. It's time to put the bag down. Stop chasing the carrot. To recognise the wholeness and the eternal state that is already here. It's very, very important. It's very, very good work. So if you was or are carrying anything in your body and in your mind that you would like to put down, we're going to use the next 3 breaths as a physical gesture to let go. So we'll take a deep breath in through the nose and release through the mouth. 2 more. Inhale. Let it go. Last one, big breath in. And release. Namaste.
Namaste.
Welcome, wonderful people. All in the sunshine, like vibrant.
Gosh, so many.
I often sit down at the start of my class and I just wait. And then more people come in and I'm waiting. And every time someone or something happens, my mind starts to flutter and it moves and then it stabilises and I notice the odd thoughts sort of just come and go. And then I sit there and I play a game with myself and I say, because the mind is like constantly trying to think of the best way to provide for the moment. It's trying to tell me what would be the best thing to say to these guys, what would be the most intelligent thing to say to these guys. You know? The mind wants to feel loved and fulfilled because it doesn't believe that it can. So I sit there and I listen to them and I'm like, well, that would be good. I have to let that one go. And then another one comes up and I think, oh, that would be good. Let's start with that. And today was the first time I felt in a long time that we might just be sitting here for a very long while. Are you going to stop and let me start? It's a nice relationship to be able to sit prior to the condition of your mind rather than in the condition of your mind. And most of us are, or I am a lot of the time, in all honesty. To make space just to watch it all happening and to have that choice, that gift of choosing whether to indulge in it or not. And if we're all honest, like radically honest, in our day, how often do we really have the choice? And how often are we being washed by the waves of the mind? It's probably like 95 or 99 to 1%, something like that. Yeah. So when we arrive, we just get to stop. The invitation will never change from me. It's the final teaching, is to stop. Stop the search, cool off all of it, and finally meet what's here. It's fucking terrifying. It really is. It is, because we have to really, really start being truly honest with ourselves. as to what it is that we're running from, what it is that we're not able to sit down and really, really experience ourselves fully and vulnerably in this moment. It's hard work, you know, because when you really start to stop, you have to stop the story, you have to stop the narrative, you have to stop the effort you've put in, you have to drop the labels. You have to experience the stuff that you've probably been neglecting for a long time. And it's all there. It's all there. And the stuff that needs to be experienced, that wants to represent itself by thought and emotion in this moment, is the stuff that we need to look at, because if you closely investigate the motivation for your life, for what it is you're trying to achieve, you can often feel that it's backed by the fears that we could address in this moment. Does that make sense? No? Shall I go a bit deeper? So we might think that today I am doing my job because that's what I'm meant to do, you know, and it'll earn me a bit of money. But anything that we're doing in our life to complete something, to receive something, is ultimately fear-based or ego-driven, with a sense of, when I finally attain that, I will be peaceful, I will be happy, I will be free. Anything. Okay? And you can ask yourself the question, what am I chasing after for completion? And be truthful. If you're not truthful, then there's no point in playing the exercise, but to be really truthful. Like, are there cogs that you have in your life at the moment that are churning, that you feel that there'll be a sense of completion or success in your life if you finally reach destination? Or are we all just...
No, you're looking for contributions.
Always, yeah, just gentle ones.
For me, it's clearing my mortgage.
Yeah, good.
And when my mortgage is cleared, then I won't have to worry about clearing my mortgage anymore. And then my mind can be free. And I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, good. It's a good example, isn't it? Anyone else trying to clear their mortgage? So, this is the nature of the mind. The mind exploits the future with a promise. Promise that when the mortgage is paid, I'll be free. And there's an exponential distance between your freedom and this moment. Yeah? An exponential distance. And that whole distance, a lot of stuff can happen as well, you know. We can pay off our mortgage early, we can not pay off our mortgage, we can have health issues, we can meet the love of our life, we can, so many things, you know, so many variables in that, but the clinch over that feeling is, when that's done, I'll be able to relax. So that cycle there then reinstills itself into this moment. It's something that in this moment, Robin is experiencing. If I had my mortgage paid off, I would then be free. And it is the same experience of wanting the mortgage to be paid off, to experience the freedom, that is one of the blockages that is stopping him from experiencing freedom now. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it lives here. It's the truth. You know, and that's an honest truth. And every desire we have, if we follow it to its totality, the result of the desire will be, in the essence of, to be free. The other one that we often battle with is to avoid death. Okay, and that one is definitely closer to a mad mind, because it's not possible for our minds and bodies to avoid it. So we can do things like just the nature of paying off a house is fear-driven. It really is rooted back in the substratum of a human mind trying to be safe. Shelter, food. You know, food nowadays tends to be money, which is why we go to work. Before we did work like we do in our society, the food was go out, hunt and gather, hand to mouth. Now it's hand to money, money to shop, shop to mouth. So same things, same samskaras that we're embedded with. So to be radically truthful with yourself is to stop and sit down and ask yourself, what am I searching for? What am I doing all the doings for?
live a full life.
To live a full life. Okay. So you're saying that if you have a desire, the desire could then lead you to feeling more fulfilled. Yeah? Is that what you're aiming at?
I suppose it's to experience life, what life has to offer, all
Yeah, that's
different
good.
things.
That's a different thing though.
But I suppose that's still planning things in the future, you're looking for experiences.
Yeah. Have you ever not experienced life? Have you ever not been in the driver's seat?
No.
We have a fear that if we don't chase after our desires that we're going to turn into a vegetable. Well, no, we think that life's just going to stop. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that Robin can go to work and pay off his mortgage for however long's left, and he can relinquish the fear of when it's being paid off. When it's paid off, he'll be free. There's a possibility in this moment to let that fear go. There's a possibility that he will experience the rest of his life from the driver's seat. He will still have full moments. I will still have full moments, even if I feel like I'm contributing in some way. So it's not that I'm telling you that you don't need to do anything. I'm asking you what it is and why you're doing it. Okay? There's a difference in needing to do something to feel complete as there is for doing something for the sake of doing it. You're all sat in this room right now. You're here. You're going to meditate. You're going to be here. I would even go as far as to saying you're probably going to try too hard tonight. You're probably going to sit down and really try to do this, to really try and clear your mind, to clear your baggage. And if you just invest a bit of effort into the opposite, into letting it all go, and just meeting yourself in this moment, in your truth, you can find a really, really rich discovery. The richest discovery. And it's fresh. It's vibrant. It's peaceful. So we're going to start tonight off just by meditating on the word stop. Okay? So you can close your eyes. You can notice the momentum of everything that's been going on. You can relax your body, just let it go. Stop trying, don't uphold yourself too firmly. Don't try and do anything too much. We're going to let go of everything. I want you to forget that you've ever been taught how to meditate. I want you to forget any technique. And I want you just to feel the word stop. Feel it. I don't want you to try and stop. I don't want you to do anything. I just want you to actually meet what's here. Maybe that's a busy mind. Maybe that's a pain in the body. Maybe it's an uncomfortable emotion. So we'll sit in stopping, and I'll give gentle reminders for the next few minutes, every now and then. And then if something comes up for you, we can be willing to investigate it together. If the mind wanders, just look for what's stopped. Look for the stillness that's watching. Go deeper into that space of still. Just by letting go of the walls, letting go of the edges, letting go of the mind, letting go of effort. Just stop. tension in your face. Letting go of any tension in your cheeks and your eyes and your forehead and your shoulders and your arms, torso and legs. Just resting. And just forget everything. Just for one real moment. And then we're just going to use the word I in our mind. We're going to say the word I and experience it, and we're going to watch it arrive in the mind, I, and then we're going to look for where that I is located. We're going to take a little gentle inquiry into ourselves to try and find the I that you describe yourself to be. See if you can find where that feels like it's located. You might find that you're bouncing around looking. That's okay. And then when you say the word I, look around and then notice where the word I falls back into once it stops. It comes from something and falls back into something. And when it falls away, see if you can rest as the place in which it falls and discover the truth of yourself there. Something bigger than the I, something closer. Take a deep breath in through your nose. A little go. Okay.
Wow.
Anyone want to add anything from their experience that might help the room evolve?
That was really deep for me. I felt like just infinite, like black space with colours, like flashing colours. I didn't really feel like an eye. It felt indescribable. There's not really words for it.
That's nice. It's a good description for something that's indescribable. Anyone else?
Same sort of thing actually,
Yeah.
but not flashing colours, it's just purple and black.
Happy, you always get that.
Mm.
Anyone else? When we were looking or saying the word I, did you feel like you were chasing, or that you were looking for something?
Yeah, like, it's weird because as soon as you said bouncing around, I thought, oh, that's a bit weird. That's what I'm doing. I'm just like,
Yeah, you did.
It feels like the mind's bouncing off the walls,
Mm.
but there's no walls there. I don't know. Okay.
I started bouncing around, but then I felt like I was pulling back into my heart.
Oh, that's nice. The actual word heart in Advaita Vedanta and a non-dual teaching means centre. It means the centre. I think that's quite nice, coming back to the centre, feeling the emanation. Establishing a relationship with that is really important, because there's nothing there, there's no weight behind the I, but the I is the substance of all thoughts. Okay? It's a close little sly slippery thing that goes around and says, oh, I really can't do this today. But then we look for the I, and there's nothing there that can't do it. You know, and it's like this game we play with ourselves. And this is what happens, okay? And this is really, really an important teaching to become established in. This is why self-inquiry is very, very late on in a yogic path, but really doesn't need to be, okay? Because we fall out of the experience of infinite consciousness, ineffable space, and we buy into the label of I, and then with the I comes a narrative, you know, I can't do this, or oh, I wish he didn't speak to me like that. And with the narrative is dukkha, and dukkha is sammanona. We all do it every day. Begins with S in English.
Suffering?
Yeah, well done. Dukkha, let's all say that together.
Dukkha.
Okay, suffering. And the suffering that we're talking about when we say dukkha is the narrative that creates suffering upon the story that we tell ourselves. Okay? So, for example, dukkha is not pain. If I stub my toe, I'm experiencing pain. Yeah, that's fine. But the dukkha comes when I say, now I've stubbed my toe, I'm not going to be able to go on a walk tomorrow, I don't know how long it's going to be healed for, I don't know if it's ever going to be fixed again. And then the suffering commences with the narrative. Yeah? We have a relationship with that. That's the dukkha. And every single time you're suffering and you're buying into the individual self, you're telling the story of life. It's the truth. It's the truth.
Okay.
So the invitation to experience yourself and to stop is to notice what's always been here. To notice the truth of your being beyond the labels. If you was the labels of your mind, or if you could locate the I in yourself that you're referring to, then you wouldn't be able to exist without them. The minute your mind stopped the story, you would cease to exist if that's who you was in existence. Does that make sense? It wouldn't be possible to experience yourself with no mind if you were the experience of thinking mind.
I have another example of that.
Please.
So like today, from personal experience, I was like, I want to be home. So I'm leaning into that feeling, creating suffering because I'm attaching to the story. And I was like, well, what will I get from being at home? Well, peace. And I was like, well, why can't I experience that now and be at peace? And you kind of come to this own resolve of like, what's here right now, I can experience that if I let go of that story. So that quite.
So that's two things. Okay, that's Robin saying with the mortgage, he can experience the peace now if he lets the story go.
Yeah.
You're saying, I want to go home. And then you recognise that I want to go home is the narrative that's creating the suffering. It's making me not enjoy this moment. And then the thing that I will get when I finally get home is I'll feel happy and relaxed and peaceful. So you let the narrative go, and what do you experience? Happy and relaxed and peaceful. This is literally the lie you've been telling. We've been telling ourselves all
It's
of us.
right here.
Every time we promise ourselves that we will arrive in the future at a moment where we're free, and we're already free. We're already free. I would have searched down every hole possible if it wasn't for this winter that broke me. I would have looked for happiness, and I would have tried to negate all of my suffering. I would have built castles and houses and fences around my piece of land to make sure that no one in this world could come in and touch me.
May I ask you a question?
Yeah.
If you consider someone who is seeking freedom from the future, freedom from suffering, they might decide that the way to do that is to rid themselves of material things that bind them to the future. So they might decide to shed their property, they might decide to shed all of their worldly goods, they might decide to shed all their relationships, everything that binds them into what might happen next. When they are free of all of those bindings,
Does it
they
really?
then are in a position where they are wondering when enlightenment is going to descend upon them. The expectation never goes away. Do you see what I mean? I have cleansed myself. I am free of everything. I have divested myself of all my worldly goods and relationships. When is it going to be mine?
Yeah.
When's it my turn?
Exactly. So can you see? Because I've wrestled with this thought. How should you divest yourself of things? Would that make you any closer to nirvana? I'm not sure it would.
No. I agree. You saying that, I'm like, it's not gonna. It's here now.
It's because we think it's something more splendid than this moment.
Yeah, that's a
Because
very good way of putting it.
we think that nirvana has got to be better than this. Bullshit.
Yeah.
This moment's fucking fantastic. It's like the best moment ever, and it will continue to be the best moment ever. And whether you're the sadhu that has renounced his life and given away everything just to walk the wallowing path of the yogi, and you've given up everything, and then your thing then becomes, right, how do I give up everything else? Because once you've given up all your material possessions, yeah, well that's the final teaching, right? But this is
the concept.
It's because we couldn't believe it's here. It couldn't possibly be here, could it? Because we've spent our whole life looking everywhere else, so it couldn't possibly be in this room, in this moment with all of us if we all just stop. Enlightenment couldn't just exist now. I mean, what is enlightenment?
Being in the now.
Enlightenment nowadays is just another thing for the mind to chase after.
Yeah.
It's another concept that has been sold to us so
promise.
strongly, and it's not the fact that enlightenment is the problem. It's that the mind will turn anything into a tool. It will turn any word that we use, and there is no word that I can give you. If I sit you down and say, my teaching today is for you to stop, and you take that and you say, all I'm going to do is start stopping. Okay, every time my mind thinks I'm going to stop, I'm going to do this. Then all of a sudden you're now using this word, which literally means to stop, as a tool. Yeah.
And you're saying to yourself, hey, I'm really good at stopping.
I'm really good at stopping. I'm really good. And then you get like this, and you sit down, and you're like, oh man, my mind stopped, and you miss it. There's nothing that your mind can't digest and spit out as another thing to just chuck the future. Do you know why that is?
Why?
It's because the mind exists in time. And we need to learn this deeply. It's important, it's imperative for our awakening. Because everything that your mind is spewing in every moment is from the past. Every word that you've learned, every tree that you've seen, every experience that you've had, there's a huge collection of this stuff in your mind, and your mind is constantly going, that looks like this and this from my past, I've learned this and this, and if this and this goes together, then this gives me this. Constantly churning. The mind exists from the graveyard.
It's interesting you should say it, because today I was down on Lavender's Green, and I was just looking at the trees, and I was in a pretty blissful state. I was just looking at the sky and looking at the trees and listening to the wind. And my brain was asking me what the scientific name for a sycamore was that I was lying underneath.
That's what it does. Just to carry on though, while we're there, it's fine. So the mind will go out and it will collectively use an experience of the past. If we are here in this moment and there is zero resistance, there is no pushing of this moment, no feeling of wanting to be home, no feeling of needing to finish something or to complete something for my freedom. If we let go of the resistance and we become surrendered, like truly surrendered to this, only just this one moment. If we experience the truth of this moment just once, without fighting then the mind stops. And that's what we're all chasing for, okay? We're chasing for that feeling of freedom. And once we have a relationship with that experience of self, that experience of freedom, we can start to notice it's there when the mind's talking. It's there when I'm suffering. It's there when I'm sleeping. It's there when I'm meditating. It's never actually left me. And it's the distinguishing factor when we can start labeling ourselves and saying I as the eternal rather than I as this small form, the small self. And in all the scriptures you see it, the real self and the small self. And they're saying that for a reason. They're saying that because most of us are identifying with our labels, our relationships, our graveyard of thoughts in the past. And them things can be really intimidating. But it would be the truth to say you need to be more radical. You need to be willing to experience just one moment fully. Just one moment. And go into all the corners and let the mind go everywhere and let your body feel everything and notice what happens to it when you truly surrender. Because to surrender is to stop resisting, and when you stop resisting it means you're grateful for this moment. You're okay with this moment. And I can guarantee you from the bottom of my existence that you feel better when you're surrendered to the moment than when you want to make the future moment better. So, any questions?
Mine isn't necessarily a question, it's more of a something that works for me, I guess, because I'm often torn between being the little self and the big self. When I deeply recognise myself as the big self, the self, Brahman, whatever, that pervades the universe, and then when I do genuinely sit in the seat of awareness, I guess I recognise that if I am Brahman, then this ultimately is my projection, manifestation, if you like, and then I guess it makes me feel more comfortable with whatever's happening, because whatever is arising in me, because if I am infinite consciousness Brahman, then what is happening, I'm ultimately that, so therefore it's happening in me, so it just makes me feel, I guess, more comfortable knowing that I'm the projector as well as the one that's being projected within the projection experience in the project. You know what I mean? It's like it's a paradox, but I think it just helps me.
Well, it isn't. It's a paradox in the experience of the mind. It's a paradox when we try to label it.
Yeah.
It's a paradox when you try to label something that can't be labelled.
Yeah.
Then you have to run the loophole, because that was a great explanation of it. That was like as good as they come.
I thought it was very enlightening. Thank you.
Thanks.
So
made me feel comfortable.
Yeah, and it's perfect. That's the thing. But even more truthful is we need not have that. What's the word when you're describing something? Dialect. We need not have that dialect
Or
running
dialogue.
to feel comfortable, because there's a piece inside of you, Lewis, that will say, if I understand that, then I can be comfortable. And what I've noticed from our experience when we talk and stuff is that you will do something that will make you feel comfortable, and then you might investigate it a little bit too much, and then that tool's no good anymore. And then you arrive at the next thing that feels comfortable, and it's still, it's a very, very good path. You're in a very high place. I'm not negating it. These tools are great. I'm just saying that they are still ways to say, I'm okay. But the experience of okay, the truth of okay, is just to stop all of the narrative and just experience this moment. And the reason we have to digress in conversations like that wonderful explanation is because from someone's perspective that hasn't experienced the stopping, they need many ways to wrestle the brain before they can understand what the fuck it is we're talking about. Yeah, it's a difficult concept. But the experience of it, the true experience, is to stop. So we're going to sing a little mantra. Everyone okay with that?
Yeah.
And then we'll go back into some meditation. Okay. I used to do this as my escape. This was the way of stopping my mind. Now I just do it for the love. For the fun. So don't let something grab you and let it become your new drug. Okay, recognise what's already here. We'll do the two that we did last week, I think. Maybe one different one. We'll start singing call and response, and then we just all join in together. Just be with each word that you're saying. No further. Just see if you can do it with truth, serenity, and devotion. Like a real purpose of just feeling each word that you're singing and just being no further than that word. Just let it emanate and feel the love. Krishna next one we'll do call or response, and then we'll sit in meditation afterwards. And when we do, I'm just going to use the word still when we finish, just to be still.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
There's no in, no out, no up, no down, no left, no right. Just stop. Stop everything. And meet what's here. Complete stillness. If there's even 1% of effort going on, if there is, let it go. Just think about the word omnipresent. Omni, all directions, present with everything. In everything. In this moment right here, fully. Just forget all of your limitations, forget all of your body, forget all of your mind, just for one moment. Meet what's here. Beyond it all, closer than it all. The truth of yourself. Just be still and relax. breath in through the nose. Slow exhale, keep your eyes closed. Okay, one more big breath in. Let it all go, and you can open your eyes.
Have a little fidget.
I thought that was delightful. That was my experience. You know when we navigate through life, when we sit in a room like this and we know that that's what we exist as, it's easy to feel comfortable in this room. It's easy not to uphold an image. And if you look at your group of friends around you, probably likely that they're your friends because their stories are similar to yours. They like the same things that you like, they dislike the same things. And especially when you start to become on the spiritual path, you can enter the hierarchy of they're more conscious and then they're not conscious and then. But the way to alleviate suffering in the world, the way to become a good person in the world, is for you to try and remain empty. So that when other people approach you with what's going on in their life, they can connect to their own truth. Because it's so easy to get roped into the story. And the only way out of suffering is to stop the narrative. And just having a few people in the world that walk around with no narrative has a profound impact on the world. Profound. You know? It changed my life. And it's the best. It's fresh. It's like picking a fresh apple in every moment. It's always fresh. Every time you come back to this space, doesn't it always seem fresh? Has anyone got tired of filling that space yet? It's just like the best nectar in the universe. It's like you touch it and you're like, oh my god, this is amazing. And then there's a belief installed in most of us that we'll leave now and that our mind will rev up and that we lose it. And that's the lie. The lie is it's never gone. It's never gone. We fall into identifying with something else. We forget this.
There are places that you can go to though where it rises to the surface much more easily. I mean, I encountered that when I was in Bali. I encounter it when I go to Mark's sanctuary in Little Downham. I encounter it when I come here, you know. And to be honest with you, I encounter it in my own home a lot of the time now as well.
Yeah, so it's things like that create the conundrum for the mind. That's a perfect example of the conundrum that we all experience, because that would indicate that it does go. For it to be able to bubble to the surface is an indication that, and this is exactly what I experience daily, and it's not wrong, but you don't lose it.
No, I understand.
It doesn't go anywhere. This is not a critique, Robin. I'm using it as an example of what everyone in this room experiences: the waking up and the sleeping. You know, the feeling of, oh, I've done my yoga practice today. Now I'm awake. I've hung around with people. Now I'm awake, and they lift me up. That's all well and good. That is all well and good. But that will lead you down a rabbit hole of going, I need these circumstances in my life in order to be awake. And then a religion gets formed, or a cult gets formed, or a lifestyle gets formed based around, these are the building blocks that one needs for me in this circumstance to be able to maintain my awakeness. Because when I'm not awake, I'm unhappy. I'm asking in any given moment to be able to experience that. And the difference is this really, really profound from what my experience was when I started to experience that space emitting feeling in my pain, in my anger, in my suffering, there was more freedom to be found there ever than after a yoga practice. For me. because I was running from all that stuff. I was running from death. I was running from my anger. I was running from my negative thoughts and my problems, and I was trying to fix them. And they were the portals that when I started to go, who am I? Do I exist in the pain? Is the pain, for me, am I this pain, or is this pain just a sensation in the grand total of things? When I went into the stuff that I was forever running away from and found that stillness there, for me, this was a pivotal point in my life. For me, I felt there's nowhere I can go in my mind, in my body, in my experience, that I'm not going to be able to find it. That was huge. Because before then, I didn't want to live sometimes. I'd had enough. You know, I was too scared of the future. And to be able to go into that and thinking that to stop it would be the answer, which is where a lot of people arrive at when they're suffering. But what suffering really is this: what am I turning my back on in my direct experience of life? And you go into it and you find that space, that ineffable space, through all of your shit. And when anything comes up in your field of awareness, when the negative thought comes up, when the problem comes up, when the experience of pain comes up, when the experience of grief comes up, if you just are brave enough to experience it once truthfully, you'll notice the truth is in it. You know, that whole truth will set you free. What are we running from? It's good though. I think that isn't a perfect example of the fluctuation of a yogi's journey. Do you remember that period of just living as a kid, freedom, and then starting to build samskara, impressions and life, and then having an identity, especially when you get to like a teenager that changes every 2 years, you know, you like this, you like that, now with the cool kids, now with that, constantly evolving identity, and slowly an abstraction of all of them things manifests itself into the current version of yourself. And like 7 years ago I was into drugs and partying, or longer than that now, 12 years ago, and then that slowly become, now I'm into yoga, you know, now my personality is Yogi Kane, you know, and in 10 more years it might be something else completely. That's the constant evolving, you know. The thing that's the same is the truth to me. It was the same version, the same spacious bliss that was there when I was doing drugs at a festival that is here. And nothing yet and ever, to my deepest belief, has ever been able to even put a dent on it, even a speck of dirt on it. It is always as fresh. And that is hugely reassuring to experience that. And that's never not existed. I can't remember ever not existing. That's fucking nice as well when I'm worried about dying. It's really nice. It's like, well, I don't ever remember not being here, so that's good for me. You know? And yeah, okay, so whenever you have that fear of death, or whenever you have that fear of not being fulfilled, look at it. What's really at jeopardy here? What's the fear based around? There's a narrative going on. The narrative is based around the story of I, the body, the mind, the things that change every so many years, and the body changing, and our identification with that then creates suffering. So all we're going to keep looking at, we're going to keep feeling it, we're going to keep touching it. That's all you need to meditate on.
Is it the soul you're talking about then, the bit that doesn't change, that's separate from your mind and all the labels you give yourself?
Yeah, of course. Soul is a word that we could use for it.
I don't know, there must be lots of words, but that's just what I would personally use.
Yeah, so the experience of soul, so consciousness is absolute, consciousness is permeating everything all at once, okay? But from our perspective in this moment, I'm experiencing consciousness from this perspective. So it feels like I'm fragmented from the totality of everything, because my experience is me and then this, okay? That's what this feels like. When I'm experiencing life as an experience of me and this, I would say my soul is confined by the boundaries of this physical entity. Now I have a soul, okay? And my soul is the piece of consciousness that feels like it's in a cage because of this body. That is then Atman, individual, yeah? It's not true. The soul is just connected to Atman and Brahman at all times. It's just one, right? But my relationship to my belief system and my identity to different things, which has been going on for lifetime and lifetime and lifetime, in this moment, it feels like I have a soul, okay? And that is because I'm experiencing consciousness as individual. That's fine. That's what gives, this is just different expressions of the same thing. That's what gives us our individuality. There's no way we'd want to take that away. If I'm here experiencing life as consciousness through this individual vessel, fantastic. What a great way to experience, you know, the play of life. I have no bother with that. So soul is a good way. It doesn't. The trouble that I have with words that try and point at it is they're just pointing at something that's wordless, formless. It's the prior condition to everything. It doesn't need a word to describe it, because every time we think of a word, like let's look at the word soul. Where did we learn the word soul? How did we learn it? What book did it come from? Do you think that the first person that experienced a soul in his body from the perspective of that man, experienced it, tried to then express it to someone else and created a vibration to try and point to what it was that he was describing? Yeah? That's what language is, right? That's what language is. It's like, this is a guitar. I say that hoping that when you'll look at it, you'll think it's a guitar, but the guitar is not the essence of what this is. It's not even close. It doesn't give the value of what it is. It points to what it is. The same as when I say soul, that can point to something, but the experience is different to the word itself, and that's really, really why I want the words to be let go of in the middle of your meditation, why the word stop needs to be undone, why all of the things need to just, and to really experience what is. Just what is. Without any labels. Make sense?
Yes.
I will try for the rest of my life to give words and descriptions to something that is formless. And I love it. That's probably my favourite thing in the world to do, and music, but that's why I'm here. Yeah. So I have fun with it, and I have fun pushing people's minds that are trying to rationalise these things, because you can often see the unsticking a lot of the time. You know, you see they'll hit a boundary in their mind and they'll either think, holy fuck, I don't want to go there, that's too far for me, and then they'll never come back again. Or the other thing is, it just breaks the boundary, you know. And one of the best descriptions I ever heard of the Buddha's mind was, he started off and his boundary was like this, and he pushed the boundary and broke it, and then he was like this, and he pushed the boundary and he broke it, and then he was confined like this, until eventually he broke all the boundaries and there was just nothing left, and he was just the experience himself. And that's what we're like. What boundary are we pushed at? You know, a few years ago I was bound to, yes, I am this body, I am Cain, I don't believe in anything outside it. I keep pushing it further and further, and then the experience becomes richer and richer. It just feels like I'm freer and freer. There's a genuine, sincere feeling of boundlessness in meditation for me, where there's just no edges, there's just nothing. And it's just lush.
Thank you.
No, thank you guys. Lewis, you had a nice experience last week, didn't you? Do you want to share anything about that? Tell them that you blew your own mind. No, I'm joking. You don't have to share if you don't want to. It was just nice to hear you had a positive experience in meditation. And how much effort did that require?
Yeah, zero. Yeah, it was very. I'm a hardcore seeker, reading every book, but not necessarily yoga books or Vedanta or any of that, or your Hinduism. I'm not really like, never. Obviously, I go to yoga class, but that's where my experience of like Hindu gods and deities ends, I guess. When I go. Right.
I'm carrying on. Good story.
But yeah, last week when I was in here, I never really associate or think about Christian or say mantras or anything like that. I did when I very first started yoga, but I guess over the years I've just started getting into more the reading books on quantum physics and scientific views, and like Sam Harris and people like that who are into consciousness and trying to put a scientific spin on it as well.
Yeah.
And Donald Hoffman, yeah, like people like that. So when I was here last week, it might be a complete fluke, it might be the altar. I'm guessing it's Kane's, Laura and the altar. That's doing it. But honestly, I was here last week and I didn't dare mention it because I thought people are going to think I'm just making it up or just not. So I didn't mention anything, but I was just meditating, completely lost. I didn't have like really empty, formless and all the rest of it. And then all of a sudden, I had like, I don't know, I felt like I was like looking down into a lake, or like a bit of body of water basically. And then I saw in the water, really, really vivid. I can visualize it really clearly now. I was looking into the water, and there was like the top of a mountain reflecting in the water. And I remember like literally sitting in this room, and then as I I looked up, like in my mind looked up, and then like I don't know much about like say about Shiva or anything like that, but I looked up and I saw an image of basically Shiva, and I knew instantly. I don't really know like if someone like how or who she, like if someone said to me what does Shiva look like, I wouldn't necessarily know, and I instantly knew as soon as I looked up from the reflection into the actual mountain, that's Shiva, and I knew like instantly. And then something in my mind, I don't know where it came from. If I was on a game show, I'd never know the answer to this question. It's like £1 million. And something in my mind said the words Mount Kailash, and I like honestly, legit, do not have a clue what Mount Kailash is. You might have mentioned it years ago. I don't know if you ever have. I wouldn't have had a clue what that was. And then I kept hearing the words Mount Kailash, and then I got in, and then I was like, what is that? And genuinely had no association with it. And then I was like, mine was a bit, was that? And then anyway, just went away, and I went in my car and I got my notepad out on my phone and I wrote the word Mount Kailash on my phone whilst I remembered it, where it was. And then I got back home, and later on, as soon as I got back home, I googled Mount Kailash, like, what is Mount Kailash, why do I keep hearing it? There's something inside me was like telling me, like, because it kept saying it, and then I was like blown away, like that it was like a mountain associated with, I can't remember what it said, the abode of Shiva, and it was a bit like, blew my mind, and then I thought, I've got a message yeah. I was too nervous even to tell you, because I thought he's going to think I'm just blatantly making it up, you know what I mean? Like, it's too weird to, but honestly, that was like,
it's a great experience.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It might be that, like I say, the altar, but
it could be.
Yeah.
It could be a formula of things. It's it doesn't even matter what it is.
Intuition.
It's a beautiful thing when that happens, and these were the things that Papaji experienced. Papaji experienced stuff like that. He experienced Krishna coming to him.
Is Shiva on the wall then?
Only behind me here. Not with an eye.
He's in the centre.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, Krishna is at the side,
Krishna's
Ganesh is
there.
at the other side.
Oh, Shiva, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, Krishna is
Yeah.
at the side.
So this is good. These are the experiences, right? They come to you in meditation things, and they require zero effort, but there's a realness about them. It's just like really a vivid experience. It's more vivid than one can create normally with the abstraction of your mind thinking about something. That's difficult, you know. If you imagine something, it exists in the murky, dark experience of your brain, you know. But when you have a meditation experience, it's like it's just there. It's light. It's real. And that's the thing, and Papaji experienced that as a young man, and that pushed him into his training, and he would chant Krishna, and Krishna would come to him, and he would be blissed out and cry and be in ecstasy, and then it faded, and it was the same, and then he would go seeking it again, and then it faded, and he then used that experience to go around to teachers in India, and he inquired, can you show me God in this moment? Because he was under the impression that if God was omnipresent and eternal, then he must exist, or she must, or it must exist in this moment. That even the experience of Krishna coming and going to him was a fleeting experience. What is always here, and it was Ramana Maharshi that said, it's the first teacher that said, I can show you. And it was through the self-inquiry, who am I, and stopping, that he experienced it. The truth. The one thing that's never left. And it is the same space in which Krishna, Shiva, Buddha, Jesus, everyone has emerged from. And we are all different variants, we are all different waves of that same ocean. And sometimes it's a freaking tidal wave, and that one seems like the Buddha's got it all because he's got all of this consciousness in him, and you're this little wave here, and it seems overwhelming. Still the same. Still the same. It's the recognition of the one final truth. And that really helped me because I'd had the experience like you, and I'd had other experiences, and I was doing everything to live in them experiences, to hit that bliss again that I had, and just sit in it as if it was the thing that was going to save me. And then I found so much more grace in this ordinary moment. So thank you for sharing. I appreciate that.
Thank
You didn't leave me
you.
hanging, so yeah. It's good. So things like that are possible, and I really want you to be aware that they require the zero effort. It was one of the only times we really sat down and didn't try to do anything.
Yeah.
And we were surrendered. You know, some magic stuff will come up in that surrender, you know. But there's got to be a real sincere approach to your surrender. You know, you can't sit down and go, okay, you know what, Lewis has had it, I'm going to sit down and stop today and surrender. It's just sincerely meeting the moment as it is, and things will come. Okay? Go about your week like that. Stop, have fun. Let go of your impressions. You know, if you're going to work tomorrow, do it just to be at work. Be the space for the world to exist. Don't confine yourself to less than that. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, have a good evening.
Thank you.